originator will still stay intact. And I think the way that we actually place and price loans is going to be extremely direct.
This one's going to be great. I know I say that every single time, but it's true. I love talking to all these different people. And on this particular one, Ryan O'Kane is the CEO of Arbor Financial Group, based right out here in Orange County. So he's my neighbor. We've both been in the business since 1998. So we're seasoned vets. We have great conversation in this upcoming podcast. You're going to love a lot of it. We talk a lot about AI, like it's the thing these days. I guess we have to talk about it, but we do talk a lot about it. We have things we agree on. We have things we disagree on where we're headed and what the future of the loan officer is, what the future of the real estate agent is. So that's kind of interesting. I'd be curious to see what your thoughts are after you listen to the show. And at the end of the day, one thing we have in common is we both believe that we need to be tech forward and that we need to start developing tools for our people. And whether you're a business owner or a loan officer, it doesn't matter. Like, you have to get into this AI stuff, right? You have to get into building tools. You have to be able to start creating new ways to, explain to people what a 30-year fix looks like, because it's not that easy anymore. It shouldn't be that easy anymore. It should be a little bit easier, right? And what I mean by that is just simply use tools that are unique to that particular client. That's my belief, that every client should have a unique way of having a presentation. So listen to the show. Tell me what you guys think when it's done. Enjoy. All right, here we are. Ryan O'Kane, CEO of Arbor Financial Group. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So I'm going to enjoy this because a couple things. One, we got started in 1998, both of us at the same time. So I think we can just both relate to pretty much everything that we've been through. I don't know how old you are, though. How old are you?
51, man. Just turned May 15th.
Damn, I'm older than you. So I'm 55. So a little respect maybe back this way for the 100%. Age. We're neighbors. I don't know where you live, but you're in Orange County. I'm in San Juan Capistrano. Where are you?
I'm in El Niguel, dude, like Niguel Heights.
Okay, so we're close.
Our Laguna Niguel. Right.
So we have a lot in common. And there's one thing that we don't have in common, and you have 300 something loan officers working for you, and I don't. Right. So I have a lot to learn, and I'm going to enjoy this show because I'm going to pick your brain. Usually this is for like everybody else. I want everybody to come away from this podcast with like knowledge of how to do better in business, how to do better in family, and be more successful, right? I think that'll all happen, but I'm going to just tell you up front, my goal here is for me to walk away that way because you have something I want.
Sure.
Not in a bad way, but in a good way. So I'm looking forward to it. So first, who is Ryan O'Kane, both personally and professionally?
So Ryan O'Kane. So personally, I am a dad. I love being a dad. I've got 4 amazing kids. So I've got a 18-year-old daughter, 17-year-old son from my first marriage, had a little hiatus, got remarried, and I've got a 7-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter. So I would say, when I don't want to be cliche in the why, but I think they definitely are the why. I've got a beautiful wife that loves to travel. So she drags me all around the world, which is a lot of fun. And then as far as like hobbies go, I love playing golf, love skiing, love everything that California has to offer, right? I mean, it's one of the, like, love it or hate it. There is one of the few places where you can surf in the morning and go skiing in the afternoon. And so just love being outside. And that, again, is kind of like why I think I work as hard as I do, is because, we're blessed to be in a business that gives us the opportunity to afford, a lot of fun things to do and take care of your family and take care of yourself out in outside and just have fun. And then professionally, so as you mentioned, CEO of Arbor Financial Group. We have been at it, like you said, since 98. Started Arbor back in 2000. Well, it was 2008 is when started the company. Partnered with Dave Arvidson in 2010, and been kind of on our journey. Went non-delegated correspondent 2013, and then have just been continuing to grind since then. I still originate to this day as well. So while I kind of primarily handle the marketing and technology infrastructure at Arbor, I also still have my own originating team and branch in here. So I do still do a decent chunk of volume myself to stay sharp. And I just love, I love originating. So
All right. So what does a CEO of a large company still originate on a yearly basis? What'd you do last year
so
personally?
yeah. So personally, I think that's I got really and I not interesting story, but 2025. I mean, I'm sure as so 2021 was doing this as long as we have. We've been through quite a few cycles, and I have been telling folks I think the hardest cycle to be in the mortgage business was this 2021 to 2024. I felt like we'd never been through a cycle where we had taken so much opportunity off the table, like that we saw with COVID, and then actually have rates run up so quickly to where it was like you literally had cleaned the table, and it was you kind of had to reinvent yourself into what products you were going to find. So, um, reason I start there is because there was a lot of focus in 21 to 24 at like really um, kind of re-envisioning our company in terms of like retooling a little bit and really just kind of like survival mode of we're trying to grow our way out of the drop in volume that we experienced in that 21 to 24 cycle. But that came at the expense of a lot of my origination. So I think towards the tail end of 2024, I got frustrated and decided to start focusing on originating again. One, because we had stumbled across some decent sized branch managers, and while I could really speak to our platform and the benefit to like the independent loan officer, it was kind of, I was struggling to kind of describe the benefit to larger branches that were doing a lot of volume. So I was like, I need to build my own branch. So I did that. And I want to say through the first half of the year, I think we're cresting up at about 30 to 35 million. So our target, our goal, it's pretty funny. Like all the passwords I put for our teams, like our websites that we're riffing and Claude and everything, every password I put is 200 mil. So my goal is to get the branch to 200 mil. And that pretty much started at the beginning of this year. So we're gonna,
That's great, man. It's so interesting how much we have in common. So I also got 4 kids, and two from the first wife, two from my wife now of 14 years, and
yeah.
my passwords are 5 billion, 5B.
Yeah. That's perfect, buddy. Yeah. Integrate your goals in your everyday reminders, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's awesome.
So that's a great story. I'd like to kind of back into it a little bit and talk about some of the problems, right, and the growth and the difficulties, and a lot of it, whether it's a business owner or a mortgage advisor just trying to grow their business, right? A lot of that stuff it's all the same, and I believe overcoming obstacles, right, is how you grow, and embracing them and learning from them. So in your case, right, we know you got a 98. I know you did some wholesale in the beginning, and you started your own company. Then you partnered, I think you said, in was it 2012,
2010 is when we partnered. Yeah.
2010, and then you became non-Dell in 2013, which I think was one of the front runners of becoming non-Dell, right? Because there wasn't that many non-Dell people back then. And at that point, how many loan officers were at your company?
So in 2013.
Yeah.
So I want to say in 2013, we were probably around like a 25 to 35 clip.
Were they all self-sourcing, or was it a bunch of lead guys?
No, we've always been referral based.
Okay. And then when did you were you guys trying to grow at that point, or was it more like broker owner, you're hustling doing loans? If somebody comes and works here, it's great. I'll try a little bit, but I'm too busy doing loans.
It's interesting, right? So we were doing at the time, like Dave and I were very, I would say we were very solid originators. So like right around that 2013 time, I think I was doing about 80 to 85 million. He was doing close to 80 to 85 million, which was a lot of volume. So and I think we attracted folks who were interested in trying to understand how we did it. And we had a compelling story, right? Because I had come out of wholesale lending, right? I wasn't a retail originator. I was a wholesale mortgage banker from, for the first 10 years of my career. And one of the things, and Dave, if Dave were with us now, he would tell the story where I took a lot of like, I was really a CRM nerd and like a tech nerd at Countrywide. And that's what helped propel. I was able to become the top account executive in the nation there. And I took a lot of those tools and employed the account executives at my branch in Orange County, and we became the top branch in the country. And that's, you're at Countrywide, which at the day that was like the top letter. So it was I felt when I left there, I had this like basket of tools that I'd already, you know, played with in the real world. And I was able Dave had been doing retail mortgage origination since 98. I was able to come into the channel call it in 2008. And by 2013, I had done more volume than he was doing. And he'll sit there and he goes, and then once I plugged his database into our systems, then he was like, his whole business kind of lit up. And that's kind of what prompted our, kind of this, our original tagline was like promoting you, which it was all around having like a quote unquote hosted marketing platform for originators, right? Where, I having managed and been with lots of salespeople, like I know we're not very good at maintaining databases, not very good at being consistent in marketing and all those things. So we just decided to say, like, how do we automate, like early on, automate this stuff, whether it was through having people or whether it was through the technology that we were investing in, where we could just automate a marketing platform that did all of the just baseline stuff that an originator needed. And that's when we did that, that's kind of when things started we had a story to tell, right? And that's ultimately when you want to grow, you need a story.
So what does automating all that look like for actually let's skip through that, right? Because that's so everything was old. There's a lot of new stuff now, right?
Yeah.
And you're in charge of in my eyes, a good sized company. Um, I think old school is still pretty strong, but you got to have tools and you got to be forward thinking. What does a company like Arbor think about the future? Like, what do we have to start doing now in order to be in business 5 years from now?
No, dude, I love that question, man. And honestly, it's what makes our business so much fun. And I was speaking on a panel on Monday at the IMN non-QM conference, and it was around AI and the mortgage experience from the borrower experience, wholesaler, and servicing. And I think we are in this amazing moment of time with all of the potential that is sitting out there with all the noise with AI. But once you strip away the noise, and if you were to, say, what's the vision of once these things start to bolt on, and once you get through the governance, and once you get through the regulation, and you get through all these things, I believe that we are going to get to a point where the originator, like the market is going to, our process is going to flatten, but the originator will still stay intact. And I think the way that we actually place and price loans is going to be extremely direct, meaning that I don't know if it's similar to like what Pylon is doing out there, but I think that the wholesalers, I would almost argue there's going to be like this new channel or a new process to where you originate a loan, and the findings are going to be so good and the underwriting is going to be happening so real time that the value, and that you're going to be able to have the decision and value the transaction, go through the exceptions and get all that stuff is going to move so quick to the point where, as soon as we're able to, quote our borrower, explain the solution they want, package that packet of data, we're going to take that packet of data and it's going to go out. It will be underwritten, priced, and basically ready to be sold in hours. Right. And it's just going to be, and then there's going to be the only thing that, and who knows where appraisals go in the future, but I have a feeling that, I think it's going to be great for the consumer. I think the cost of originating is going to start deflating, which it needs to, right? I mean, you've been doing this a long time. When I got in, like brokers, and I think the total cost to originate a loan was definitely under 200 bips. And you look at where the IMBs have been running for the last 10 years in the 300, 350 range, and it seems to keep going up. I think it's that is going to flatten out because you're just not going to need all the people to do what we do.
So Pylon is interesting, right? That's kind of coming in strong, and I am captivated by it. There's a lot of people that still don't know really what that is and what's happening. Can you give us all just maybe a little, 60-second understanding of Pylon so that they can understand what you were saying about where it might be going?
Yeah, so like their value prop is that they essentially are making the claim that they have like, you know, automated the process, the manufacturing process, to where they've eliminated a lot of the people and waste in the wholesale channel, to the extent, and the claim is that basically the file is doing exactly what it's doing. You're gonna deliver the loan to them. They're gonna run credit. They basically are gonna do the full, I don't want to say origination process, but they're gonna process the file for you. And their processing mechanism is so efficient and it's so wired tight, the way that it moves between the street, that it delivers, they'll say that's 100 basis points better, but that doesn't include the margin that they take out. And they have kind of a cascading flow on that front, but it does provide, I would say, on any given transaction, about a 30 to 40 basis point pickup. Um,
And
so,
that
and
doesn't
yeah,
require a processor?
it depends on on the workflow of the originator, but the majority of the processing work in terms of ordering the credit, ordering the order outs, my understanding is those are being done in-house. Like a lot of like they're controlling as much of the process in-house to automate it out, as opposed to it being really clunky on the outside. But there's still going to be conditions. There's still going to be steps that you send in, but those steps are, so whether or not you have a processor do that, but
And do you think that's going to start changing the outcome of what an originator can make? That they'll be making less money now per loan because of stuff like that?
I don't think so. I think that it's going to, um, I think that it's, my feeling is that it depends on where the margin decides to end up, right? You know, the competition at the street level is what's going to dictate what we can make, right? So I think what's really going to influence how much the originator makes is how many originators have access to that type of execution and that type of price, right? Because ultimately that competition is what's going to drive it down.
Yeah.
And then and so I think as more and more, if you look at like just the broker channel in general, I think we're at like 28 to 33, depending on what stat you're in. So there's still a ways to go before you have you know, enough borrowers out there, enough loan officers with access to that type of price, that's really going to start, then they're all competing and it's going to really start driving the cost of origination down. But I do think it's happening. Like you look at all the mergers that are starting, I mean, the IMBs, I don't know, man. There's the strong will survive. The big boys will stay in it, but
Yeah.
you're just going to continue to see people rolling up like, Synergy and yeah, I think it was American Pacific, right?
Yeah.
Just merged. I think it's just going to keep consolidating.
Do you think that with technology, the quality of the loan officer, in other words, does the loan officer have to be as good at doing loans as we were, because of how we grew up in the business, as opposed to you just got to be a damn good marketer and get the loan in, and then it takes care of itself?
It'll be, I don't, s- so I think like if we're going out like into the 5-10 year window, I think perhaps maybe you start getting into that where the technology starts to get that good, right? Right now, there's a quote or a soundbite that I think somebody posted when I was chatting on that panel where, the borrower experience. I'm like, raise your hand if you like talking to an AI chatbot, right? There's not one person there that
Yeah.
raised their hand. Like, so there's this kind of, and maybe it's because it's just the generational gap. But I do still feel like, borrower experience, it's when you're really going to spend a lot of money on something and it's really got to be right. I do feel like there's this premium on this human to human interaction, and I also feel like there's a premium on the quality of the intelligence and the quality of the experience and the information that you're getting from
I
said advisor.
Yeah, so it's interesting though. I had my first experience recently within the last 2 weeks where I discovered as I was progressing that it was an AI, voice that was talking to me, and I decided to have a little fun with it.
Yeah.
Uh, but I gotta say, man, it was pretty good. So, like, I
Yeah.
didn't get annoyed because I was impressed versus and this sounds terrible of me, but versus when I have somebody from, overseas that I understand, and then they repeat the that what I said, and it's like, that
Yeah.
should just freaking do it for me, man. Like, they'll repeat
Yeah.
everything I say, right? Like that, the accent and all that stuff drives me insane because I feel like nothing's getting done and nobody can really understand what I'm saying.
Right.
Versus if AI gets good enough, I'm like, yeah, whatever. As long as this gets done, I'm happy.
Yeah, well, I think, and this is where I think there was another panel. I was up at PennyMac, and they asked me to speak at one of their executive retreats for wholesale, and they had the original sales guy from OpenAI, Zach, I think his Bass, it was his name. Um, and the guy I mean, his perspective on AI and where the future is going like was so far beyond what I had thought, but it was spot on because here's a guy that was actually at the ground floor of OpenAI when they were developing, and his job was going out and selling, ChatGPT to Coca-Cola and getting all those corporate accounts and explaining what it can do. And the reason why I bring him up is because people were like, "Hey, is AI going to replace our jobs? Is AI going to do what? Blah blah blah." Like, there's a lot of questions around that front. And and the part that was illuminating to me was the amount of policy and regulations that are on the books that prevent that from happening.
Uh-huh.
And there was a post on LinkedIn the other day where someone's like, "Oh, there's this startup and they've got this in seed money and they're going to make a completely autonomous mortgage process." I'm like, "You're you're really not, because you're that like NMLS, like the lending, like when you go through like like all of the lending laws and you look at Fannie and Freddie and look, you know, it's y- it's kind of like when you come down and when there's a mistake on something that where if you make a mistake on it, it costs a person a lot of money. There needs to be a throat to choke, and you're not going to choke your keyboard and,
Yeah.
and and be like, oh, it's the AI agent's fault. Like, so I think we've got a long, long way to go. I think the focus right now, if people want to really leverage what's available in technology, is really on operational efficiency in between the seams of the business. And I think the originator side and the consumer experience side, you can probably lay over some of the technology, but you're going to start dealing with these policy regulations and what exactly is like, are you infringing on LO, um, like licensed activity versus non-licensed activity is going to be, it's going to be an interesting
Yeah,
progression.
I have mixed feelings or thoughts about all that stuff. Here's kind of my take on it. I heard a story a while back when AI was really kind of getting going, and it said right now AI is like the smartest kid in high school, and
Mhm.
pretty soon it'll be the smartest kid in college, and then the next layer up will be the smartest person in the world. And we've kind of seen that progression happen, which has been pretty cool to see. I I think regarding our industry, uh, where I see it is that the person that old school, the person that knows how to go out and make relationships and connect with people will be the one that flourishes on the mortgage advisor side. And but needs to be able to use tools to be able to do more than a handful of loans or even more than 10 loans. Like that old school, like I have an LOA, I have a processor, I have this. I mean, you can do a lot of volume, but that's a lot of labor. And I think
Yeah.
that's going to get to a point where you won't be able to, you should be able to do all of that with one person, right? Not
Yeah,
a whole team of people. And I
I agree with
think
you.
they're on the loan officer side, like, right? Because I always make this distinction, and everybody listens to the show knows it's like a loan officer has a job, a mortgage advisor has a career. And I think on the loan officer side, the ones that have jobs, right now, I mean, I'm sure you guys have some too. I have some guys that are only closing like one or two loans a month at most. And the reality is like, I'm just like, it's mind boggling to me. Like, come on, you guys. But the reality is, I could do two loans a month just in my commute period and not work the whole rest of the day. And with our loan amounts in Orange County, that's actually a pretty decent living for a
Yeah.
lot of people, right? Like that's still a lot of money. It's more money that you'd make working full time somewhere else. So so it's been pretty easy to say I only have to do one loan or two loans a month and I'm living a pretty good life. But I think the margins are going to change uh, because of competition level and the lower we just won't need as much payroll coming in the future, right? There won't be the need for as many LOAs, as many processors. And when you bring that cost down and then everybody starts fighting for it, I think how much money we're going to make on every loan is going to start getting a little bit more slim. And I think the guys that are doing one or two loans a month aren't going to be able to make it anymore. And I think the ones that are doing good are going to start doing really great. I look at, do you know who Sean Herrero is up in Northern
Yeah.
California?
Yeah. Yeah.
Great
Yep.
guy, right? I mean, $100 million producer, solid, right? Every year and all that. He's he's trying to go from, I think he did 150 last year. He's trying to go to 300. Like he's trying to double that that production, and it's actually possible, right? And he's tracking. Last time I talked to him, he said he was tracking it right now, like he's on track to do it. And I think when you use all the tools, right, like that's the key. We have to adopt those tools. And my wife was asking me because she's just getting kind of sick of how much money I'm spending on things. And I'm like, I have to work through these right now. I'm not going to be that guy
Yeah.
that's just going to sit around and wait, and to find out what it's going to be one day. I feel like sitting around and waiting is not going to be. I won't be around when it's figured out. So I need to be on top of it now. And quite honestly, I said, I'm considering this an education because I'm learning an awful lot every time I fail at something or every time I find something different. I have to give up the last thing I was just doing. But it's interesting. There's so much going on right now, right? It's wild.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up Sean. Met Sean or heard Sean. I went up to the Shayla Gifford's retreat, Slay with Shay, last year, and then I was actually in her coaching program, Catalyst, for a while. And I friended him on Instagram, and I kind of seen him. And what I
By the
what I
way, I
find
know
it,
you're old. I know you're old
yeah,
because you friend on Facebook and you follow on
yeah.
Instagram.
Well, I whatever, right? Like, I don't know, like, it's very rare that I've got some Facebooking going on, but, it's usually only to find fellow old friends, right? So, um, but I think what's interesting, and this is, probably a good riff for, to mortgage company owners when you start thinking about, like, the loan officers and the tools and the people that do one or two loans and, like, the guys like Sean that are doing 150. You have, like, Shayla is just crushed it. You just take a look at, like, the special originators across the country, right? And there's a part of me where, I was not a coaching guy. I did not. I was like, I in fact, that when I went to Shayla's thing, that was like the first coaching deal I'd ever gone to. And,
Wow.
I had had some people come into Arbor every once in a while, but, like, my take was, like, the individual, right? The challenge, like, you take a guy like Sean, like, I don't think there's tools, like, I don't think there's really gonna be anybody that can take the tools that Sean's using and is gonna go out and do 150 million. Right? The reason why people are able to go do it is because of the person, is like, it's the person, and it's and I don't know what the stats are in coaching and like how many people that go into a coaching program and they go in and they actually do the work, they use the tools and they go and they do it. And I will say that I think I think it's these like incremental gains. Like when I was in the program, there were so many great tools that I was hearing about. But even myself, like I have information sprawl, I've got base sprawl, but I do my best to try and write down my lists and do my top and cross my things off. But it's like, um, I don't know, man. I guess the point I'm trying to make is while these tools might come around, I don't know that the tool in the hands of every loan officer actually empowers them to be competitive still against the person that's willing to do the work, that's willing to invest the time, that's willing to, um, like, I don't know that the level of separation between top producer and middle producer and bottom producer starts to flatten because of the tools, right?
Yeah.
That's
The
I don't know what
tools
that
will
tool would
help you.
be.
I think the tools are going to help you do more volume, right? Because you should be able to do more with everything we have without having to keep adding bodies after bodies after bodies, right? Uh, and but I think I still think if we fast forward, let's call it 5 years from now, we'll be making less money on a deal than we are today. And I think that's what's going to kill the originator that only does one or two because they won't be able to have this cushy lifestyle making very little on every deal anymore. And then I
Yeah.
think we're going to be forced into doing more deals just to be able to make the kind of money we're accustomed to making.
It'll be interesting, dude. I actually, I don't know where I sit on that. Because when it gets harder or when people, because when the herd thins, right? Like it's kind of like, like 2008, right? Like I remember 2008 happened and opened up my shop and like all my friends were like, "Oh my God, are you okay? You're in the mortgage business? Like
Yeah.
and then like 2009, 2010, I didn't want to tell anybody. I'm like, there's like nobody in this business anymore. And there's like an $8,500 tax credit to buy houses. And the government is like buying rates down. There's like, there, like, I can't tell you how many calls back then, like, well, my loan officer I used to work with, like, left the business, Ryan. So, like,
Yeah.
I heard you're doing loans. I'm like, Open for business."
Damn right I
So
am.
that's right. So I think that while I don't disagree that there's gonna be this shift and it's gonna be harder for those people that don't do a lot of loans, that do the 1 or 2, I wonder when the 1 or 2 go back into the supply chain, how much that props up margins, but we'll see, dude. I think we're gonna have the bottom line is, I think whether we're doing more loans or whether at a little less margin or however, or maybe we're doing more loans at the same margin. I do think that what is on the horizon from a technology standpoint is going to, it's gonna speed the workflow up, and like I tell this to a lot of our originators. Like all the technology we design for them, right? The whole concept, right, is around, in my opinion, of mortgage technology is like it's it's to create opportunities for you, to create conversations, right? At the end of the day, our job, if you're a referral-based loan officer, like you need to have conversations. And I would bet you that Sean is having like 10x the conversations with people than anybody else is, right? Because he's so confident in his conversation that he's creating maximum opportunities on a daily basis, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so like the when you start looking at then, okay, well, how does technology help me have more conversations to ultimately create more opportunities to ultimately have more loans? Um, and that's where, like, I think the only thing that technology that can do right now is it can free you up for time, right? It can create more time for you. But ultimately, unless you want to take advantage and have the conversation, I think that's where so many people get blocked because they're not willing to have the conversation.
Yeah.
They're not willing to, that's where, I think you mentioned this earlier that, you know, if you go out into the future, I think the value of human to human contact, the value of real sales of eye to eye, I think people are going to be, the AI is going to get so overblown that people are going to shun away from it because they're going to be craving reality and they're not going to be able to trust anything they see. And the only thing they're going to be able to trust is like the person like you and I that they can like either riff on a Zoom call or get out to a coffee and lunch and be like, hey, like, like are you for real? And
Yeah.
like, so like I know that you're actually like a real person and you're actually using a cognitive thought and you're not going through some deterministic waterfall that's trying to outsmart me to get me to say yes to your deal.
Yeah.
You know, that's not even right for me. Um, it's interesting, buddy. I mean, we could,
Oh
bizarro
yeah.
world.
I'm gonna switch gears a little bit, but I'm
Yeah.
I'm gonna circle still,
Cool.
Um, what about where the business comes from today, your company, right? What percentage would you say comes from real estate agents, CPAs, financial planners, attorneys, and past clients? What's the biggest source?
So, I think that realtors still serve, I'd probably put realtors in that like 40 to 50% bucket, right? And then I think past clients are huge. And this is where, I guess circling into kind of like the technology front and when I was explaining kind of the technology platform that we built, one of like the OGs back in the business when I got in was, I know you remember Sue Woodard. I remember, it was the original Barry Habib. Like I had Mortgage Market Guide, right? And then you could like buy Sue Woodard's like contact program. And I thought that was like one of the greatest things I'd ever seen. But it was like on an Excel spreadsheet, but it was like this original roadmap of basically how to go deep in your database. Like how does one contact lead to like the realtor, the CPA, the financial advisor, estate planning attorney, all the way down the line to where you could just, as long as you just like work the system off the one, you can open the door down to uh, you know, the remaining like power referral sources, like depending on who in the chain you actually started with. Um, so the way that the technology at our company is built is really built around that original concept of this like really deep database, and a lot of the engagements are designed for, you know, I really respect realtors. I like, they serve a huge purpose. Um, and this is no offense to them, but I will say that when there are clients that like a client that is referred to me by a realtor, is not necessarily in a high trust relationship with that realtor. So that the referral, while I appreciate the referral, the actual trust level that that client has with that person is not at a level that they're not going to shop me. When I get a referral from like my financial advisors, my CPAs, estate planning attorneys, right? Because the level of
Right.
trust is so high,
Yeah.
there's way less shopping. So, um, anyways, in a roundabout way to answer your question, realtors because again, this is just market driven. At the end of the day, like in a purchase market, we run like 70 to 75% purchase. The vast majority is coming from, past clients looking to repurchase a home and realtors, right? Um,
So so let me I'm gonna take you to where I was going because I thought that's what you're
yeah,
gonna say because that's what it is in my business, our company. Uh, but here's the question now. In the next 5 years, how much do you think realtors will be affected with the new way of business potentially doing business, right? Will realtors be as needed as they are now? And where I'm going with it, just so you can know where I'm taking you, is if you say that they're not going to be as needed, but the loan officer is, right? The mortgage advisor. Then my question is if we get that much of our business from real estate agents and they're not going to be as needed, what's that going to do to our business? And then
yeah,
finally, where I'm going to take you with it is, do you think that means as business owners or as originators out there that we need to start going direct to consumer and coming up with a playbook to do that more so? Because my entire playbook, my entire career was never go direct to consumer. It was going after realtors or other professionals and making sure I did a great job on every single referral I had so that they would always come back and refer me to their friends. And that proved great, but I wonder what the future holds because I can still get new deals. I can still do all that from past clients. But what about my largest referral source, realtors? Will they be as strong of a referral source in 5 years as they are now?
yeah. So in 5 years, I'm going to tell you, yeah, 100% they are. Like I'll wager.
You think
Right.
realtors
So
are still going to be strong and
100,
needed?
100%, right? Like, I don't know where, like, again, like, we're talking, and I mean, maybe when we're talking in certain pockets of the country where investors are looking to buy like new construction from, like, who's buying homes unseen? And
But
then
nobody's saying unseen though.
so
Or
there's gonna have to be, but you're gonna have to go see the house. So you're gonna have somebody's gonna have to open up the house. Yeah, I wanna sell my house. I'm not gonna put it on the multiple listing service myself. And this comes in the other thing too, when I talk about, like, when we start talking about boxes of like 5 years, right? Um, Again, and this is where I hate to be like the wet blanket on the innovation stage, because dude, I am like, I can tell you right now, all I do all day long, like, I'm coding, Claude coding, and we've got 2 AI developers at Arbor. 9:30 every Monday, I'm on a call with my dev team. Like, I am as tech forward as anybody in the independent broker space around. The reality is that we are in a hyper regulated, lobby filled type of industry. So the if and I j and so, like, when you start thinking about, like, the Department of Real Estate and wrapping your head around what they can't get out of their own shadow in 5 years, let alone rewrite the law, the rules to allow automated real estate transactions to be done, right? Like, it's just not, it's like, you had the last big shockwave was like the change in the buyer commission thing and all the rest of it, right? And it was gonna flatten commit, like, has it done anything? It did nothing, right? So it's kinda like, you know, what where I see this going, right? And actually, oddly enough, this was like, I picked this up from that same guy from OpenAI. Like, there's most likely gonna be some type of, I don't wanna conflate it too much, but there's gonna be a quasi revolt, because the technology is gonna move to a point where it is going to, all of the things will be so efficient, but they will not be able to be implemented because the regulations will not move fast enough, or the people in charge will not open the doors fast enough because they're protecting all their cronies,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so there's going to be this, and depending on, you pick an industry where that's gonna happen first. I don't think it's going to be in, per se, in real estate. Um, but there's if and we won't do it now, but I would say to your listeners, I'd say, if you want a very interesting, like, factoid to go research on your own, you could go ask Chat Gemini, Claude, and go ask how many job professions in the United States right now are protected from being automated. You're gonna be shocked at that number, because this isn't, while, people, LLMs are new, right? AI is not new. It's always numbers-based automation has always been in there already. And, there's a was an amazing story that this gentleman had shared to illustrate this, regarding the labor union on the Eastern Seaboard, on the shippers union, right? That shut down, basically shut the economy down because they were gonna automate the ports. And the guy said, "Okay." He's like, "Well, there's gonna be nothing. We're shutting down the entire program." And I think he went on, he even made the states, like, "I'm the most powerful man in the United States, and no one knows my name." He goes, "I'm gonna shut down the entire country's shipping lanes, like, in a phone call.
yeah,
And and unless you give me what I want." And he did, and then it was like Armageddon, right? And supply chains broken, and they caved, and his jobs, they've effectively put in policy regulation around automating their job,
yeah,
and
yeah,
artificially inflating prices, right? Because it could have been totally deflated with automation. And that is just a simple example of that piece. And that, so going to your question, realtors, dude, I think now, and again, it's not that I totally disagree with the concept, but I think the time frame, right? If we're going in 5 years, no chance. You look in 10 years, um, I don't know. Like, I think tangible assets, right? Like, large scale tangible asset purchases. I think there's people will buy low rent cars and commoditize that. I think it's really difficult to do that. There's so much emotion in purchasing homes. It's hard for me to envision a world where, you know, you know, suing, Sue and Bob don't want to walk in the front door and actually look at the house first and be guided with a realtor. And then when you really dive into the regulatory like responsibilities of a realtor, like all of the seller disclosures and looking at the house and the guts of the house and the seller inspection and walking it, like if you know, there's it's not like it's a brand new widget.
Yeah.
So I think we're good on that front, man. And frankly, like I'm not in my lens right now for the future. Like I'm not necessarily retooling, um, like I'm not necessarily retooling where we're going to get our business from. But I also will tell you this, man, even if they did, like, I think that if we wanted to start, um, I'll just be full transparency. Like we have a pretty decent, while we only hire referral-based loan officers, we get a pretty decent a chunk of consumer direct leads that come through the Arbor site, just off the Google review program. And then we also have a combo, we have a combo real estate lending company in here, like a sub-brand DBA, Brundle, where we do real estate and lending. And I think like the Redfin Rocket thing is kind of like almost a kind of a better thing to cling on to. That's where my head's at,
Yeah.
is I think we really bring value to, especially in California with dual agency, we have a huge opportunity to be able to like offer real estate agents a better holistic option of being a realtor and mortgage partner. And they don't need to go all in the mortgage woods, but they just get your NMLS license will help you do it. I think that's
Yeah.
when I look out 5+ years, I think there's going to be more Rocket Redfin combos, dude.
So that's funny. I'm with you on that one. I actually started Ethos Real Estate Group as well last year because of that same reason, right? I think that's a smart move there. And let's switch gears now. Let's talk about some cool shit.
Yeah.
You said something that sparked my interest, and you said you're tech forward. You're sitting there. You're Claude coding. You got two AI guys. Like, what are you guys building?
So we got to sign an NDA. No, I'm kidding. So what I will tell you is that, the learning curve with AI development is, it's been, I mean, again, I'll tell, like, I have been so like invigorated. I mean, I love our business, right? Anybody that knows me knows I love what I do. Um, and I love technology, and like where things are happening right now, it's like electricity in the fingertips. It's like taking everything that you could envision that you wanted to do, but then had to get like, it took weeks and weeks of describing it, iterations to come back, and it still wasn't close. And now
Yeah,
it's like I can literally build it exactly how I want it, watch it change in front of me and be like, this is what it's supposed to look like. Is amazing.
it's the coolest stuff in the world,
It
man.
it
Like,
it,
I
it
get so jacked over doing that.
dude, it's epic.
Yeah,
What I learned, what I learned was, is then at the kind of the, the corporate level was trying to say, okay, well, how do we build like an AI strategy at Arbor, right? And do we focus on one tools? Like everywhere, like we had like a focus group and like, hey, everybody wants like a guideline engine. Like, hey, I want you to go out and tell me where I could place my loan across all the guidelines and find me this or find me that. Well, we built one of those and it was a disaster, right? It took way too long, cost way too many tokens, but it was a great learning experience.
yeah,
Um, but then what we did is we started to empower our entire operational um, like our operational for workforce with Claude Code, or not with Claude. And we had we gave them some tips and pointers, and then we had them start like ideating away around things that could help their job. And then they started building artifacts and they started building these tools, and it was like amazing. And then we're like, okay, now we have all these tools. Well, now what? So long story short, I think the coolest thing we're building is actually really the scaffolding and the macro, like, what we call it, the attic. We call it the Arbor AI tool chest. Okay. And that is where like we are going to be placing all of our customized Arbor skills, where we then like, and whether those skills are Hey, I'm going to sort and label documents. I'm going to calculate income. I'm going to verify a CD. I'm going to do all my stare and compare. Like, if you look at our marketing department, it's like, hey, we're going to do automated flyer generation. We're going to do social media posting. Like every possible thing that like all these other web apps in the world exist today that are nickel and diming us. You now have the ability to create those surfaces. We put them up into this kind of like, we had to build like a, we call it like the AI, our little AI factory, but you have to bring them in. We have to rank and file them based on cost, on time, on effectiveness, I also say friction is like, we have a lot of like, you'll appreciate this, dude, like compensation, right? Like your freaking, comp calculator, right?
Yeah.
It's like, we're still using, like, we bought this, we have Loan Vision. We thought it was going to be like the ultimate, like, answer to our comp needs and
For
to
that
our
kind of
accounting,
money, you'd think it would be.
dude. And it's like, and I'll tell you what, you riff in Claude for 2 or 3 days and outspits the best commission calculator you've ever
Yeah.
seen.
Yeah. We
But
built ours
now we got to
in,
wire. Yeah. So, it's hard to pin what I guess what I'm most excited about is actually building a sustainable and, like, when I say scalable, cross-departmental scaled AI infrastructure, right? That actually like can produce tools and skills at scale across the organization. And my CTO and my COO, they'll tell you, they'll be like, I basically am mandating, I want every single job at this company optimized. I want an optimized percentage where how well, and as we keep ideating, we keep going back on their job, like from a processor, from an LOA, from a funder to a shipper to everybody, like every single job they do, I want it to be optimized. And then once you think it is, we go back and it keeps feeding
yeah.
on itself.
Yeah.
So that the Arbor context library that fills our AI platform
Yeah.
is constantly updated, constantly rich, and constantly then spitting off opportunity to basically to
Yeah.
to just optimize. Yeah, it's
Yeah. I'm so
cool.
excited about that stuff. It's what I was explaining it to a friend the other day because I'm trying to build what I'm calling EOS, it's the Ethos Operating System.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's 28 years of knowledge that's finally coming out of my brain and coming to reality.
Yeah.
And, it's like, should a person like me be doing all that? Isn't it better to hire somebody that does it, right? And it's like, I got somebody that cleans it up. But
Yeah.
the reason why it's never worked, and I've spent way too much money trying to make it work over the years, and it never works, it's because nobody has this, and I can't ever explain it well enough and let them go and build it. Because now I can
Right.
just say it, build it, reframe it, redo it, build it,
Yeah.
and just keep going. And
Yeah.
it's literally the only thing I found, the way I like to explain it, and I'm better now, but the first time I tried vibe coding, I actually found out I did a pretty good job, like architecturally. Like I built a pretty, like I built a, I should say design wise, I built a beautiful home. But when I
Yeah.
walked in the front door and flipped up the switch, for whatever reason, the garbage
That's a
disposal was
great
going.
analogy. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've had to
That's
kind
right.
of get through that, but I hired somebody that cleans it up for me now. And
Yeah.
now we've gotten to a point where it's like we've started learning how to work with each other because it was a struggle for him too. He's like, this isn't normal. I'm like, I get it. But you know what? It's how it has to be because you're not
Yeah.
picking up everything I'm putting down the way I actually want it, right? Like what I truly want. And I don't want the average of what the reason why CRMs, I hate, you said you're a CRM junkie, or used to be.
Well, I hate the word CRM. Like,
Yeah.
we call ours a command center, right? It's like CRMs are one-dimensional CRMs or two-dimensional, three-dimensional. It's like our business. It's like 10-dimensional, dude.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And what I've always hated though is like, I spent so much money on CRMs that nobody ever uses. Nobody uses them. And it's like you could function off your cell phone, at least the average, loan officer can. But at the end of the day, it's because there's way too many fields and you just can't even like, you can't, even if you learn how to use it, if you get out of it for 5 days, you forget where everything is afterwards.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, well, we're custom building, right? And I'm like, not AI prior. And I'm like, what about the kids? Like, we got to have all the kids' names because we're relationship. Like, we're not lead guys, right? Where we don't care about that stuff. I care about their kids and their dogs' names and all the stuff. And it's like, okay, but I don't. I go, what if they have 6 kids? Well, then we got to put 6 fields. I'm like, what if they have 7 kids? Well, then
Yeah.
one's gonna have to go in the notes somewhere. I'm like, can't
Yeah.
we just make it where there's no fields? And if they have a kid, I just click a button and it adds one. I click another one, it adds no, it's doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, bullshit. Like, why? I hate that. So now we got a very clean CRM, right? Like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
it is only when it involves something that it pops up and shows up. Otherwise, super clean because that's all a loan officer wants is they want to be able to look at something, get a phone number, get an email, get a quick snapshot, and then quite honestly, you just ask, just like you would when you log into Claude, right? You just ask it a question. Same thing.
Yeah.
Go to this person. You don't have to read through everything. Go through it, but all the transcripts are there. All the stuff's there. All the emails are there. All the text messages. And then you just ask your damn AI a question about it and let your AI go through all those fields, right? But no more fields,
100%.
just a bunch. I love it.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah, dude, it is. I got to tell you, man. And that's, you're on the right path. Like, I think one of the, it's funny, your analogy with the house walking in the front door. That's kind of it. That's a big piece of it, right? Because the really right the key element of any call it database centric platform, right? So even if we want to stay away from CRM, right? At the end of the day, right? It's just data. It's data management, right? And the way the data moves between the sites, like when because whether I'm spinning up a site on Claude, like okay, I'm gonna like use a Supabase or a Firebase on a proto, but when I'm going in and like we start like specking that out against the back end of like Arbor's, all of our stuff is in Azure, and we start looking at like, okay, how are we going to pull, because you think about loan records, lead records, contact records, right? The data, the amount of data and the way it needs to go. And then I will tell you, this will be like, as you continue to scale it out, right? The way that like, it's always a thorn in my side is like the way that you have all your, access provisions, right? Like who actually gets in, like, okay, I built this for me, but then building it like, okay, well, how do I have it? I want to scale it across 50 people. So I need user IDs. They need to have their own databases, right? All that data segmentation stays in there. So, dude, I will say, I think, and my AI guy who with the one that, he actually devved a AI note taker up in Silicon Valley, and he's super, super awesome. He's like, man, we're in like the bottom of the first inning right now, which to me is like,
That's
I'm like, I
wild.
thought we were in the seventh, dude. But so
Yeah.
like, it's pretty amazing when a guy that's like knee deep in it is like, you think this is cool? Like we're just getting started. Right. So,
So you want to hear something cool? It was
yeah,
my wife's birthday last week. And, there's been times where I've been super thoughtful and other times where, I just go buy something, all that. And sometimes like for Mother's Day, she got kind of upset because I bought her a pair of sunglasses from the airport on my way back.
hey, that still counts.
That's what I said. I'm like, they're freaking,
Yeah.
Louis Vuitton. I know it wasn't Louis Vuitton.
Yeah.
It was Tiffany sunglasses. And
Yeah.
she's like, "You're such a moron. You bought me that same pair 4 years ago." Like, oh, okay. But it was her birthday, and I started trying to think about it because I epically failed for Mother's Day, right? I mean, yes, they were expensive and they were nice, but she already had them. So epic fail. But I put some effort into this one, and you know what? Guess what I did for her? I didn't
Did you
buy her a
make
damn
like
thing.
a web page? You made her like
I
your
made her
own.
name's Lindsay. I made her Lindsay HQ, her Lindsay headquarter, and
I love it.
it's got a calendar with like 3 different views, whatever she fancies, right? And then it's integrated with Google, so it'll always be there. There's a task. She loves tasks. She's one of those people. So
Yeah.
task management, you can do subtasks under tasks, lists, you can do all, you have confetti. There's the regular tasks, there's the
That's
big
awesome.
rocks, right? The big
Yeah.
win. And you hit, if you do one of those, boom, confetti goes off. And
Yeah.
and then there's a gratitude journal. And then she loves like her dream everything, right? And everything she's got this dream board now, and she can have all these different folders. Dude, the thing is so badass. It's like
That is awesome, dude.
I
And is there
freaking
like
built that for her.
is there like a praise Dino button where
Damn.
or like if something happens, you can send a little like like you come
Done.
up from a page.
I gotta have fireworks
Yeah.
for that one.
Yes.
Anyway, that's how cool stuff is.
Uh,
So, all right, man. So
that's
listen,
awesome.
I'm gonna start bringing this to an end. Loved sitting here just going through all this stuff with you. I
Yeah,
appreciate
man.
that. But let's bring it to an end. So, last few questions. What's your favorite book, or maybe few books? I don't know if you're a reader or not.
You know, not a huge reader, but I wish I was. Like, I'll probably out myself. I was a big like Tom Clancy, John Grisham guy. Love The Hobbit. But my wife's an author, so she wrote a book going back to Key West. And that is I think that's in the top of the list. It's coming out in September. So
Nice,
we've been kind of one of her passions, which is pretty cool.
cool. And now for the big question.
Oh,
I'm gonna pick you up. I'm gonna drop you off somewhere in the United States. You have all your knowledge. I'm gonna strip you of all your money. I'm gonna give you an allowance of just enough. All right. You can't go hire guys to do stuff. You can't just go buy business. Can't put up a bunch of shit. You're like, you got to do it yourself. And you have to make $1 million, and you can't talk or visit your family, your kids, until you make $1 million. What are you going to do? Doing loans, by the way, like how are you going to make $1 million as fast as you can?
I think I already had conversations, buddy. I mean, it's just it's output of loans is measured by the number of conversations I'm having with people. Like um, I
So you
have,
don't know anybody. Tell me how you're going to have
dude,
conversation.
well, so how much money do I start with?
I, how much did you have when you first got started?
I I had a couple bucks. I came out
Okay.
of countrywide out on the greatest 10-year run of all times, dude. Um,
Yeah.
but
So, you have enough to
here
cover your rent and food, and you can buy somebody food every once in a while, but that's it.
Yeah. So, dude, so again, I mean, it's going out like here's the deal, like BNI, I'm joining a networking group. I'm finding out where there's the largest groups of people that I want that I could just get in a room to have. Where can I go to have the most conversations, right? I'm going to go to my old high. I'll probably gravitate to, I went to UCLA, went to Loyola High School. I probably centralize my efforts in LA because that's where I have my largest networking base. I probably go just fire back through everybody that I've ever known since I grew up, which is exactly what I did. And I would start having conversations every single day, right? Like, because it, I mean, hopefully, I think if you're in sales and if you're on our business, you better be somewhat likable, right? And again, like I said at the beginning, like you should have a story to tell, right? So I would have, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get signed up with Arbor, right, or Ethos, right? So I could actually have good rates and have something to have something to talk about,
Yep.
and then I'm going to go spread the word and just have conversations. That's it. Like people overcomplicate our business, like
Yeah.
they sit there. It's like they dream about, do you have this? Do you have this? Do I have red or do I have this? Do I have, it's like, dude, all you need is like, one, you got to know your business, but assuming you know what your business is, pick up the effing phone,
Yeah.
pick
Yep.
up the effing phone, or you know what, better yet, go somewhere. If you don't want to pick up the phone, put yourself in a place where people are and just start talking.
Yeah.
Just that's it. Like, just start gabbing. I mean, don't have Tourette's and start blatting out weird shit, but like,
Eh,
like maybe you do. You know what? Maybe that would be my strategy. I'm gonna go to a McDonald's, be like, "Oh, low rates." Oh. Let's see.
Oh my
I'll,
gosh,
I'll
that's
I'll
great.
get back to you next week and see if it worked, dude.
So I agree with you. And I said it earlier too. I still think old school will win every single
Yeah.
time over technology. I think it's that you got to get out in front of people. And My take is very simple. Use the technology to buy back your time so that you can go connect with people. That's it. That's
100%.
it. That's all it takes.
And I would say and it's your choice. One of the things that we preach is the people you wanna connect with, if you wanna take back your time and you wanna connect and grow your business, do that. If you wanna connect with your family and yourself and your health, do that. Like,
Yeah.
be balanced, dude. Take the time. That's how you truly empower yourself using the tools, right?
Yeah.
So that's a great point, man.
I I'll throw a book out just that I happen to be reading it right now, but it's called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell.
Okay.
And it it's great. I actually do like it quite a bit, but I think that's the key. And I'm just gonna relate it back to technology. It's like buy back your time, use it to be more efficient and more effective so that you're not your output is truly, let's call it 70 to 100% all the time instead
Yep.
of just doing all these hours, but only having a 20% output. You waste your time.
Well, that output, right, is what creates because why, if you dig into why don't people have the conversations, right? Because they're going to say, I'm busy. I'm too busy. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm doing these things, right? So I think to your point, I think it's you need to remove the obstacles that are the excuses around actually having the conversations, right? Why don't you go out to the event? Why don't you go out and talk to more people? Why don't you all those things, right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think
All right. That's it. It's done. Thank you for being on the show.
done
Guys.
and dusted.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not
Guys.
leaving. I'm not touching anything. I was instructed. I'm just going to sit here, hang out, and just look beautiful for you for a few more minutes until I'm told I can. I,
Well, if you're
I
gonna
can
look
leave.
beautiful, we might as well give me a little
Yeah,
flex or something. Let me get a little
yeah,
picture
right.
of the beauty.
Yeah, perfect.
Hey, guys, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it. Hey, in case you guys don't know, we are bringing season one to a wrap, and I had no intention of doing a season one or two, but hey, when a great idea comes your way, you got to kind of execute on it, right? Like, and I have this great idea. So here's season two is coming. What we're going to do is every show by the end of the show is going to be a playbook. There's going to be a playbook that you can download and actually execute on. So every show is going to be mastered in a way that you'll be able to take it and go apply it to your business. Because our goal here is to help you grow your business, but not just so you can make more money and be more successful, but so you can also do it more efficiently, more effectively, and go back to your family so you're not a complete, you know, workaholic. And I don't know about you, Ryan, but like I got divorced once. All I did was work and I learned my lesson, right? It's like you got to have a little
You and
bit
me
more
both, dude.
balance. And I don't care how you cut it. 50-50, I just can't have, right? I work all day. That's just what I do. But I have to be smart enough to make time for my family, for my wife, and all that. And I'm not always great at it. And there's seasons for everything. But my hope for you guys is that, you don't fall into these pitfalls, right? That so many of us have. Learn from everybody in the past, learn from these successful people. There's better ways to do it. So, love you guys. We'll see you next time and look forward to seeing you guys in season two.